coming at you from Big Tone Productions. It's holiday season, guys, and I'm going to do another recipe for you, especially for Thanksgiving, guys. I'm going to do one of my dad's favorite recipes. I'm going to do oyster dressing. Sometimes I've heard people down south call it giblet dressing, but there's definitely a difference between the stuffing and the dressing. I guess it depends on what part of the country you're in. But hey, guys, this is going to be my dad's famous oyster dressing. And hey, if you like the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notification, make sure you share the video. And hey, let's get started with some oyster dressing. The supporting cast for this recipe or this dish it seems like a lot, but it's really not. We got our holy trinity here: celery, onion, and I got some green pepper and some orange pepper, bell pepper here that I've cut up. I just had the orange bell pepper, so I wanted to include that. But you can use green pepper. You don't even have to use pepper if you don't want to, but I wanted that little holy trinity. Okay, and then we got oysters for oyster dressing. We got chicken livers. And I believe this is 1 pound. And these are, how many ounces? These are 8 fluid ounces a piece. So I got 16 ounces of oysters. And I got 1 pound of chicken gizzards and hearts. And then for my seasoning, garlic here. I got some sage, some celery flakes, some Lowry seasoning salt, and of course I gotta have my pink Himalayan, black pepper. And then what I'm doing is I'm cheating a little bit, because my dad used to take old rolls that my mom would make and dry them out and make his own breadcrumbs. But I'm using this Pepperidge Farm herb seasoning stuffing. So basically it's just cubes of dry bread cubed up. I got 2 packages of them. I don't know if I'll need them all, but that's what I'm using for the actual bread element. But that's really all there is into the ingredients. The preparation is what really makes this dish. You got to boil your chicken gizzards and hearts and your livers. So you got to boil those for a good 30 minutes. We'll get to that in a second, but let's get started putting this together. The very first thing you want to do is you want to get your chicken livers and gizzards and hearts on the stove. You want to get those to boil them about 30, 35, maybe 40 minutes until you start to see that film on top, and then drain them, and we're going to cut them up after that. But that's the first step. So I got those on. In the meantime, I'm going to go over here and cut my oysters up. Any of you guys, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't like oysters. I should say I don't like oysters Rockefeller. I don't like oysters on the half shell. But I don't mind oysters in this because you don't really taste it. You smell the fishiness, but it is so good. I don't like oysters, so you don't really taste oysters in this. So to prepare your oysters for this, you got to get oysters here. So I'm going to take 1 oyster out, and you got to save this liqueur as well. Alright, so I got 1 oyster there. All we're going to do is cut these in half. You don't want them too small because they're going to cook down. So I got 1 oyster there. We're just going to cut it in half and put it in a different container. And we're going to go through and we're going to do all of them just like that. Just cut them in half. You don't want to make them too small. Save as much of the liquor as you can. Some of the small oysters I'll leave whole. And one thing that I didn't tell you guys about in the supporting cast, that's a small one. I'm going to leave that whole. In the supporting cast, I didn't tell you about, we need chicken broth. Usually I will cook the turkey and I'll use the broth from the turkey, but I'm not doing a whole turkey this year. I'm doing turkey breast. And I'm not cooking that until later. So we're going to substitute chicken broth. With the livers and gizzards, it'll come out perfect. One other step that I like to do, especially while I'm waiting for my livers and gizzards to boil, is I like to sear off my onions and my vegetables a little bit. Brings a little bit more fragrance to them. Brings out some of the juices. So I'm going to put all of them here in a pan. My green pepper, my orange bell pepper, and my celery. I'm going to drop them all in this pan and let them cook for a little bit. just let them sear down. A little bit of olive oil. Just turn them down a little bit and let them go for about 15-20 minutes until my livers and onions, or livers and gizzards and stuff get done. And as you can see, they're boiling away nicely. My bell pepper, onion, and celery is cooked down as much as I want it to. I don't want it to be too soft going into the oven, so I'm just going to turn it off and let these sit for a little bit. And I'm going to come over here and check my livers and gizzards. Basically what I do is I put a fork through. You know the hearts are going to be cooked through, but I try to find one of the gizzards here. Those are the tough monsters. And I try to put a fork through it. See how tender it is. They're not quite where I want them to be. Had a lot of resistance there. So there's a gizzard. I try to put a fork through the meat. It goes through, but there's a little bit of a resistance. I'm going to keep it on for about another maybe 5-10 minutes. And they'll be good to go, and we'll start cutting those up. Chicken livers and gizzards and hearts are done. So I am going to cut these up. So we're going to take some. I suggest that you wait till they get a little cooler than what I'm doing. I'm just in a little bit of a time crunch. So we're just going to simply cut these up into nice bite-sized pieces. About like that. Livers, the gizzards, everything. Just into bite-sized pieces. You don't want it too small. Just enough, a mouthful. Just like that. Alright, we're simply just going to put it into a bowl. And this bowl that we're using is my mixing bowl that I'm going to be using to cook the whole dish. So, or to mix it up. So I'm going to finish cutting these up. And I'll show you what I add after that. As you can see, I got my chicken livers, gizzards, and hearts cut up. So to that, I'm just going to add my vegetables. Just right to it. Gonna take a spoon and stir that up a little bit. Get them all mixed in there good. Ooh, it smells good. I'm gonna add a little bit of spices to this right now. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of garlic. A heaping tablespoon of garlic. A little bit of pepper for right now. A little bit of salt, pink Himalayan. And I'm adding a little bit of parsley to it. We're going to mix that up real good. Ooh, it's starting to smell good. Starting to smell good. Alright, so to that now we're going to add our breadcrumbs. I'm going to use the majority of the package there, but I'm going to mix it up here. Now, this calls for a pound of livers, a pound of gizzards and hearts, and a pound of oysters, or 16 ounces of oysters. So it's hard to bring this recipe down a little bit, so as far as in size goes. So to this now, so you're making quite a bit. So to this now I'm going to add my chicken broth. Like I said, if you got the broth off the turkey, that's what I normally use, but I'm cooking my turkey later. And I wanted to get this video done for you guys. So we're going to stir this up. And I will add a little bit more chicken broth as I go. Once I start to see the breadcrumbs start to soak it up. This is 4 cups. This is 32 ounces. I'll probably end up using all of that. There we go. There, now it's starting to get liquidy here. So I'm not going to add any more chicken broth right now. I'm going to let the breadcrumbs soak the majority of this up. And let that soak for a little bit. But right now I am going to add some seasoning salt. And I am going to add quite a bit of sage. Sage is the essence of the dressing. Now let's get to the point of the difference between dressing and stuffing. The main thing between dressing and stuffing is the fact that it's from a different part of the country. Stuffing, you're going to find people say that term when you're up north. You know, that's what they're, and typically it means inside of the turkey. So you're going to stuff it. And dressing is something that's going to be down south. That's something that is, and a lot of times people will do rice dressing or, again, giblet dressing down south. And that's something that you're going to find mostly in the south. You won't hear people from New England say dressing too often, unless they come from the south. So I added a little bit more salt and pepper, a little bit more sage, and now I'm going to add my oysters. Alrighty. So like I said, I'll be the first to tell you I don't like oysters. But in this dish, I don't taste them. And it brings such a flavor to it. It's amazing. So if you're one of those people who don't like oysters, I highly suggest you try it. I really do. Because I don't like oysters. But this is amazing. So we're going to stir this up real good. Almost need a bigger bowl, huh? Stir the oysters in. This is really about the consistency I'm looking for. You see the breadcrumbs are absorbing all that juice. Alright guys, so that's mixed up perfectly. Got my seasonings, my spices, my oysters, my gizzards, my livers in there. I'm going to add this to a baking dish. And I'll show you that here in just a second. Oyster dressing in a 13x9 baking dish. Pyrex baking dish. So, I want to recap just a little bit. So, I got 4 cups of chicken broth, 1 pound of gizzards and livers and hearts, 1 pound of oysters. I got 1.5 onions, 1 bell pepper, green bell pepper, and I got about a half of an orange bell pepper in there. Or reverse that. I got a half of green bell pepper and 1 orange bell pepper. Onion, I already said that. My spices, seasoning salt, salt, pepper, garlic, sage, a little bit of parsley flakes, and I think that's about it, and black pepper. So it all going into this 13x9 baking dish. We're going to heat this at 350. It's going to take about an hour, maybe an hour and a half until it's not runny anymore. And so that's the biggest thing. Cook it for about, I would say, an hour and a half, but not just keep an eye on it, make sure it's not runny anymore. That's when you know it's done. Everything in there is cooked, so it's got to get the moisture out of it. Oysters got to cook. That's the only thing that's got to cook. And if you like Oysters Rockefeller, you know they don't have to cook. But I'm not eating them that way. But guys, we're going to put this in the oven, and I'll show you the finished product once it's done. It's been an hour and a half in the oven. I wanted to make sure it was good and firm. As you can see, it's nice and firm. Doesn't have a lot of liquid there. And there you go, oyster dressing. I'm gonna dip a little bit so you can see what the internally what it looks like. There we have it, oyster dressing. This actually, if you put some of your your gravy on it from the turkey. If you make turkey gravy, it's awesome. But I'm gonna get this bite here. But now I got it plated up. Give me a moment. Oyster dressing, just like my pops used to make it. You guys, this is probably not the most appealing thing to look at, but you taste it, you're gonna fall in love. I guarantee it if you like any type of seafood. Hey guys, let me get this bite real quick. Man. This is awesome. Hey guys, Thanksgiving dinner. Can't wait for a little dressing or a little gravy over top of this. Off the chain. Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notifications. Make sure you share the video, guys. And hey, this is Big Tone signing off. Peace.